The dish soap next to your sink is somewhere between 60 and 90% water, thickened with salt and a gel agent so it feels substantial enough to justify the price. There is a $1 alternative that cuts grease faster, rinses cleaner, and a single batch lasts most households several months without a trip to the store. The mixture has two ingredients: washing soda and liquid Castile soap, and between the two of them, they cover every job your dish soap is supposed to be doing, without the fillers, synthetic fragrances, or artificial dyes that make up most of the rest of what you are currently paying for. Castile soap is a plant-based soap, traditionally made from olive oil, though most modern versions use a blend of vegetable oils. Unlike regular hand soap or most household soaps, Castile soap produces no synthetic byproducts and rinses off cleanly without leaving a residue. It has been made and used in some form since at least the Middle Ages in the Castile region of Spain, and the same properties that made it valuable then, its ability to cut through grease and rinse away with minimal water, are what make it useful here. The most widely available version is sold as a concentrated liquid, and a small amount goes a long way since it is not diluted the way store-bought dish soap typically is. Washing soda is the same ingredient from the previous video: sodium carbonate, which is highly alkaline and very effective at breaking down grease and food residue. On its own, it is too harsh to use directly on dishes, but combined with Castile soap, the washing soda handles the heavy lifting stuck on food and grease, while the soap does the surfactant work, grabbing onto the loosened residue and allowing water to carry it down the drain. The ratio that works reliably well is 2 cups of warm water, 2 tablespoons of washing soda, and a 1/4 cup of liquid Castile soap. Combine the water and washing soda first, and stir until the washing soda has fully dissolved, which matters because undissolved granules sitting at the bottom of a bottle can cause the mixture to separate unevenly over time. Once the washing soda is dissolved, add the Castile soap and stir gently, rather than shaking, since shaking introduces air and creates more foam than is useful for mixing. Pour the finished mixture into a clean dish soap bottle or any pump dispenser with a tight seal, and it is ready to use. For most loads of dishes, 1 to 2 pumps of this mixture is enough for a full sink of dishes, and it handles stuck-on food and greasy pots better than most commercial dish soaps at an equivalent amount. If you have a particularly greasy pan, adding a small extra pump directly to the pan before filling it with hot water and letting it sit for a few minutes works well as a pre-soak, since the washing soda in the mixture continues to work on the grease as long as it stays in contact. Hot water also matters here more than it does with commercial dish soap, since the washing soda dissolves and activates more fully at higher temperatures. So if you are used to washing with lukewarm water, switching to genuinely hot water will noticeably improve the results. Now here is something worth knowing up front, because it comes up every time this recipe is discussed, and it is better to address it directly rather than have it come up as a surprise. Castile soap and washing soda are both effective on their own, but they do not technically mix in the way that 2 neutral liquids would. Washing soda is alkaline, and when it comes into contact with the fatty acids in the soap, a very mild form of saponification can occur over time, meaning the mixture can start to separate or become slightly less uniform if it sits in the bottle for several weeks without being used. This does not mean the mixture stops working, but it does mean that shaking the bottle gently before each use is a good habit, similar to how you would shake any salad dressing or natural product that separates. If you make smaller batches and use them up within a few weeks, separation is rarely noticeable at all. There is a second version of this recipe worth knowing about for people who prefer something that behaves more like commercial dish soap in terms of thickness and consistency. Instead of washing soda, you can combine 1 cup of liquid Castile soap with a 1/4 cup of water and a teaspoon of plain table salt. The salt causes the Castile soap to thicken, which is the exact same reason commercial dish soap has salt added to it, and the result is a thicker, gel-like texture that dispenses and feels closer to what most people are used to. This version does not have the grease-cutting boost from washing soda, but it cleans well on everyday dishes and is a better option for people who do not want to deal with any separation over time. A practical note worth covering if you have hard water, since this comes up with any soap-based cleaning product. Castile soap in hard water can sometimes leave a white film on dishes or the inside of the sink, because the minerals in hard water react with the soap's fatty acids and create what is essentially a mild soap scum. The washing soda version actually helps here, since washing soda softens the water as part of the process, which reduces how much of this reaction occurs. But if you are in a very hard water area and still noticing some residue, a simple rinse with a small amount of white vinegar diluted in water at the end of washing can neutralize any remaining soap residue and leave dishes clean and streak-free. Just be aware that vinegar is acidic and Castile soap is alkaline, so mixing them directly together cancels out both, which is why the vinegar works better as a separate rinse step rather than an ingredient in the mixture itself. Let us talk about cost, since the title makes a claim that deserves backing up with actual numbers rather than just being asserted. A standard bottle of liquid Castile soap, typically around 16 ounces, costs somewhere between $8 and $12 at most grocery stores and lasts through multiple batches of this recipe, since each batch only uses a quarter cup. Washing soda costs roughly $3 to $4 for a standard box that contains enough for many batches. A single batch of the 2-cup mixture, as described here, costs somewhere in the range of $1 or under, and for a household doing dishes twice a day, a batch like this typically lasts between 4 and 8 weeks before needing to be remade, depending on household size and how generously it is used. Over the course of a year, the savings compared to buying commercial dish soap every few weeks are real and noticeable, even on a relatively small grocery budget. There is a brief, honest note worth making here about what this mixture is not quite as effective at compared to a commercial dish soap. Industrial dish soaps, particularly the ones marketed specifically as grease fighters, sometimes contain petroleum-based surfactants that are more aggressive at cutting through very heavy grease than plant-based soap. For everyday dishes, glasses, and normal cooking residue, the Castile and washing soda mixture performs on par or better. For a pan that has been sitting with burned-on grease for an extended period, a longer pre-soak combined with a little extra scrubbing will get the job done, but it might require slightly more effort than a petroleum-based formula. This is a genuine trade-off rather than a hidden flaw, and it is worth knowing going in rather than finding out unexpectedly. One thing worth adding here is that some people find the lack of synthetic fragrance takes a day or two to get used to, simply because most of us have spent years associating that artificial lemon or lavender smell with clean. The dishes come out just as clean, and often with noticeably less residue on glasses and clear items, but the scent cue is different, and that initial adjustment is worth knowing about ahead of time. Families figured this out a long time ago, without needing a label that said it was safe or natural. Before commercial dish soap became a household staple in the mid-20th century, kitchens ran on soap, washing soda, and boiling water, and dishes came out clean. The version here is just that same combination, measured out more conveniently and formulated for a pump dispenser instead of a bar and a washboard. If you make this and try it this week, give it 3 or 4 days of regular use before deciding whether it is working the way you expect, since the grease-cutting performance tends to be most noticeable after the first couple of uses once you have figured out the right amount to use for your particular sink and water type. And the next video in this series covers the one household cleaning product most people replace every few months that can be replaced with something that costs even less and lasts even longer. So stay subscribed for that one. Let me know in the comments which version you tried, the washing soda version or the salt-thickened version, and how it compared to what you were using before, because your feedback is exactly what shapes what gets covered next.